Good evening, everyone. This is the City of Bowie stakeholders meeting for the Mill Branch Crossing Residential Detailed Site Plan, DSP 20003. And I'm Joe Minert, the City of Bowie Planning Director, and I'm here to facilitate the meeting. This is a city-sponsored stakeholders meeting, which is essentially a question and answer session available to anyone who is signed up to participate. So only people who have registered are on this particular call tonight. So it's by invitation only. And we do have a couple of attendees that are participating. We are in the listen only mode. So anyone who has joined the meeting and is interested in participating, we do not recognize raised hands. We would ask that you use the question and answer function during the meeting to pose your questions. The applicant will make a presentation, and following that, I will come in and ask if there are any questions from the attendees, and I will read each question and hopefully get answers from the applicant here tonight. So this meeting is being recorded, and we will be posting a copy of the recording on the city's YouTube channel for future viewing. Again, I'm Joe Minert, the City of Bowie Planning Director. I'm going to turn over the presentation to Mr. Ed Gibbs, who's the representative of the applicant. And when Mr. Gibbs and his team is finished, I will come back and we'll go through the questions at that time. So at this time, I'll turn the meeting over to Ed Gibbs.
Good evening, and thank you, Joe. We appreciate your hosting this meeting and giving us an opportunity to meet with and hear from any interested stakeholders relative to what we view as a very exciting project for the City of Bowie in particular and for Prince George's County in general. I would like to introduce the members of our team who are present this evening. First and foremost, Mr. William F. Chesley, really the owner of the project. And in that regard, I'd like to note that when we were last in front of you, this project was jointly owned by two different limited liability companies, and Mr. Chesley, who is the really the sole member owner of Green Branch LLC, he has actually purchased the interest of the other owner, who was a partial owner at the time the preliminary subdivision plan was approved. So Mr. Chesley, who is here with us this evening, through his limited liability company, Green Branch LLC, is now the sole owner and developer for the project. So we're happy to have him with us this evening. And from Mr. Chesley's staff, Mr. Russell Baker, a longtime member of his company and very familiar with the development process, is with us, as is Mr. Teague Moore, a newer addition to the staff, but very talented. So those are the ownership representatives. And of course, of primary importance is our civil engineer, and that would be Kim Morgan of Land Tech, and she's with us this evening. So there are four representatives in addition to myself who are here tonight. I'd like to take you through what we're doing, but before I do that, I would like to say that some folks will remember that we were here and went through the stakeholders meeting, the advisory planning board meeting, and then the mayor and city council meeting some time ago, a year and a half ago or so, on the preliminary subdivision plan, which was filed. And that preliminary plan, the city took a position on, and of course it was to recommend approval. You had some conditions back at that time, and that project went through and was approved by the planning board. And the resolution of approval was adopted on April 8th of 2021. So we've been working since that time to get our initial detailed site plan put together and ready to file. And so it has been accepted for processing by the Park and Planning Commission. And It has been scheduled for a hearing before the planning board to occur on March 24th, if all goes as planned at this point in time. So that's kind of a little bit of history and a little chronology as to where we are and what brings us here this evening. So this is in fact the very first detailed site plan that we are filing for this overall project. And Mr. Hoag, if you could possibly bring up the first slide in our PowerPoint presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you. So this is an illustrative plan which we have put together and which we will be submitting to staff at the Park and Planning Commission. And so as you can see, the property has a very irregular shape. And it is characterized by its substantial frontage on US 301 on the east side or the northbound lanes. And then, of course, to the southerly portion, we have a substantial amount of frontage on Mill Branch Road. And to the east of us is an extensive area which will be known as the Green Branch Park, a park which will be developed by the Park and Planning Commission, and which we are told they are trying to move forward on even as we speak. So that's going to be a substantial amenity. And the property itself, our property, is just a tad over 70 acres in size. It was record platted years ago when a different development scenario was envisioned. That never occurred. So we went forward and prepared a preliminary subdivision plan and took it through approval to divide it into a series of different lots for different uses altogether. And so the area that you see in the tan color on this illustrative plan is really the commercial component of this project, for lack of a better term. This detailed site plan does not include any of the commercial component. Those detailed site plans will be coming forward in the relatively near future. But right now, what we have is we have the detailed site plan for both the multifamily component and the residential townhomes, which were approved. And if I could just describe the access that we're going to have into the project. So when you come down Mill Branch Road from 301 in a southeasterly direction, on this illustrative plan, you'll see a circle. And that circle will be constructed by us. And off of that circle, you will be able to take, what will be sort of a left turn, but in a direction which will take you sort of southeasterly along the southern boundary of the property. That will be a private road entirely. My client is going to construct that road. It will not be dedicated to public use. It will also ultimately provide access into the Green Branch Park. I think something that's really significant to consider here is that when my client was preparing the preliminary subdivision plan, he agreed to factor in, from a transportation standpoint, all of the traffic that will be generated by Green Branch Park. And that was really 22% of all the trips in his traffic study. So that had an impact, of course, on the road improvements that he had to make, but he was willing to do that because the park is going to be such an amenity to the area. So the park will ultimately have access from Ridgely all the way down to where it abuts the Green Branch Park out and then out to Mill Branch Road. In addition, if you look at the US 301 frontage of the property, as you go to the sort of the northwest corner of our property, you'll see another roadway coming in off of 301. And that is going to be a right in, right out turn that we will have to provide a second direct point of access into the property off of US 301 this time. So that will come in and terminate in a circle where it will intersect. If you see the green circle over there, I don't think I can control the cursor here, but there we go, right there. Yeah. So the right in, right out off of 301 comes into another circle. And so what we call the spine road running all the way through the property from privately held Ridgely Avenue all the way to this circle is called Lola Lane. And where Lola intersects this green circle, you will see another road coming off directly to the east, and that is Chesley Avenue. So those are pretty much the access points. I do, before I get into the nuts and bolts of describing the project itself, I want to also note that when we were doing the preliminary subdivision plan, there was a great deal of comment relative to a pedestrian crossing to get pedestrians across US 301 at the Mill Branch Road 301 intersection. And so we have a condition in our preliminary plan that requires that. We went ahead and we have designed that. It is shown really on the detailed site plan sheets for this detailed site plan. And that crossing, which is at grade, has been submitted to the State Highway Administration. We have received comments back from them, and we're well on the way to having that design completed. But that crosswalk will be installed, and there is a substantial substantial grade difference at the median. So it sort of falls away as you go from our property to the west across US 301. So we had to design what the engineers call a switchback, because you just couldn't go straight across because of the grade difference in the median there. It's, gosh, it must be 6 to 10 feet. And so we have a paved sidewalk sort of going to the north, and then it curls around and switches back to come back, and we deal with the grade difference in that manner. And then, of course, the crossing of the southbound lanes of 301 can be accomplished from that point forward. So we're committed to that, and we expect to have full State Highway Administration approval for that crosswalk in the very near future. But getting back to the plan itself, so we had approved approximately 408 multifamily units, and the multifamily component of the project really is immediately abutting the east side of Lola Lane. So, Mr. Hogue, if you could help me out on that one. There we go. Okay, so as you come down Mill Branch Road and then hit the circle and turn left to come in on Ridgely, you will see the very first intersection there on your left will be Lola Lane, another private road. And as you turn left onto Lola Lane, the multifamily units will be on your right side. And so you see them depicted here. And it's pretty interesting. The arrangement is 6 buildings, which are all U-shaped in their configuration. And then up in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a smaller building, and that is the Clubhouse, which is about somewhere around 10,500 square feet in size. And so you see parking in front of the buildings. So there is surface parking, but each of the 6 buildings also has underground parking in a garage. So approximately, and Kim Morgan can correct me if I'm wrong on the exact unit count, but it's approximately 408 multi-family units. Am I off by a few there, Kim?
No, Ed, you're exactly right, 408.
Okay, thank you very much. And I would note that each building has a mix of bedroom units. So each building will consist of 1-bedroom units, 2-bedroom units, and a few 3-bedroom units. I think like the maximum each building is maybe 12 3-bedroom units, and the rest are 1s and 2s. And so you'll come in, and maybe if we could move just briefly, Mr. Hoag, into the elevations for the multifamily. There you go. Okay. So if you look at both these elevations on the screen, the top and the bottom, on the top elevation on the left, you'll see what looks like something below grade. That is the access to the garage, which is beneath the building. And on the second elevation, if you look to the right, you'll see that same thing. So that's the entrance to the garage, where we have underground parking. We have storage bins. We have storage capability long-term for bicycles down in there, in addition to the parking spaces. And so this is the general architectural elevation that will be present with the multifamily units. As you can see, it's you know, a combination of different architectural materials, with the darker tan color that you're seeing is brick. And you know, then there are different panels that comprise the rest of the facade, and some ephes, I believe, is part of that facade as well. Kim, could you correct me on that, please?
You are correct, Ed. That's correct. You described it very well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Kim. So, you know, we've taken pains to work with staff at Park and Planning to come up with an architectural style which, you know, we believe is pleasing to the eye, and the layouts, I think, are going to be really nice. You can see on each of the elevations, the main entrance into the building is covered with an arched canopy, which is supported by brick piers. So all in all, we think a very exciting component of this project, and one which will be a great addition to Mill Branch Crossing. Mr. Hoag, if you could go back to the immediately preceding, there we go, thank you. So what you see in the middle there is the multifamily, and I will say that the clubhouse, which again is in the upper left-hand corner of the section, there, right there. There we go. Thank you, sir. So that's going to include, you know, we're going to have a fitness center, we're going to have meeting rooms, community rooms. There'll be a yoga facility, and it will also include a swimming pool. So it's going to be pretty doggone nice. I will say that the recreational amenities for the multifamily will only be available to the multifamily residents. They won't be available community-wide, because the multifamily builder is actually, you know, he or she is paying for that and including it in the project. And then if you look at the drawing that we have up in front, you'll see a number of what look like rectangular shaped lots, basically on all sides of the multifamily component. Thank you, Mr. Hoag. And so those are 190 residential townhomes. They're all fee simple, to be sold and owned. And all of the internal streets that serve those units are private, will be privately maintained by the developer during construction, and ultimately, once the project is turned over to the homeowners association, the private roads will be maintained by the homeowners association. And we have submitted architecture from a number of different builders because there's been such great interest in becoming involved in this residential townhome portion of Mill Branch Crossing. We don't know for certain who the ultimate townhouse developer is going to be, but we do have, I know architectural elevations from, gosh, I mean, we have Stanley Martin, we have NBR, we have Dan Ryan, and I think we have elevations from DR Horton as well. All quality residential builders, very well established with a great track record here in Prince George's County. So whoever gets these townhomes, or maybe it's going to be a combination of more than one builder, but these units are going to look quite nice. And if I could, Mr. Hoag, if we could just move into the elevations for the townhomes as well, please. And so we just, we have a sort of a sampling of all the different builders who have submitted elevations to be part of this project. But as you can see, the style is traditional, substantial emphasis on masonry components, especially on the fronts of the units. This particular grouping of units has stone on some, brick on some. On some, the brick goes all the way up to the top of the gable. On others, it goes up to the first floor. There's one there that's actually siding all the way up just to create more interest. Tons of glazing with windows. And of course, entry doors that permit security cameras. So it's quite nice. This particular elevation that you're looking at will be what we call a rear entry. So if you notice, there's no garage in the front. So the garage will be in the back. Well, but it's just a nice change of pace and gives a different look from the street, and I think adds certain character and charm to the community. Mr. Hoag, if you could go to the next elevation that we have here. Okay, so this would be the rear of rear entry units. So as you can see, the garage is in the back. There are 2-car garages with driveways up to the garage that can accommodate actually 2 other cars. So you really have 4 parking spaces here. They all have balconies, and some have special features up on the 4th elevation. You can see 2 of the units have special features up there. Are those actual walkout balcony units up there, Kim?
No, I don't believe those are walkout units up there.
Okay.
It's like a special room. I think the architect told me that that's one of the places where people could have a home office.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Mr. Hoag, if you can move on just so that we can let everybody see. These are the sides of units. Lots of articulation with windows and treatments above the windows. Excuse me. Some of the elevations will have masonry at the bottom. Highly visible side units will be treated with special architectural treatments as well. If you can move on to the next one. There we go. Here's a different builder. And again, a traditional style, but clearly a very different look from what you saw in the first set. But again, a mixture of siding and masonry treatments, steep pitch roofs with gable treatments. These have windows in the, some of the units have windows in the attic, but just a lot of interest, a lot of architectural treatment that sort of makes a unit stand out. If you could slide down to the next one, Mr. Hoag. Okay, so these will show just various treatments for sides of the units. And again, highly visible units have more articulation than the non-high visibility units, but you can see combinations of, windows and masonry and siding and the like. If you could go to the next, Mr. Hoag. This is just a derivation of the Delilah that we saw immediately before, but the treatments are very similar from the standpoint of architectural shingles on the roofs and brick and siding combinations and fenestration that is that populates the facade readily. Thank you, Mr. Hoag. Move along. Again, more side treatments for those units. You'll see a lot of windows on the sides. And again, some will have masonry treatments in high visibility situations. There's a couple elevations there that show you how the deck comes off. Those are, I think those are front loaded units there. Mr. Hoag, if you could go on. Okay, another, this is another set of elevations. And I don't know who this builder is. You can chime in if you have a handle on that, Kim.
This is Lennar.
Lennar. Okay, Lennar. All right. So another quality builder. But as you can see, the tone overall is a very traditional townhouse look. Lots of windows, either single or double car garages, gables, and steep roofs. And you know, you'll notice that on all these, pretty much the units sort of jog in and jog out so that we don't have a straight plane going across the front. And, you know, that just adds to the architectural interest as well. Do we have another one, Mr. Hoag? I'm not sure. We might be close to the end. Here we go. Is this Lennar as well, Kim?
No, this is, I believe this is NDR.
Okay. All right. So then another quality builder, been long established, building in Prince George's County and really, you know, everywhere, quite frankly. Headquartered in Northern Virginia. And again, more of the same traditional style. These units also have tons of windows. You see the you know, the facade front going in and out to avoid that one plane look across the front. If there's anything else, please bring it up. The next one, Mr. Hoag. Okay, Kim, chime in. I should have had you saying who the builder is on every one.
And this is Dan Ryan Homes. And these were pictures that they took of an existing development. I believe this development, though, is in Montgomery County. It's not in Prince George's County, but it's representative of what they would propose.
Okay, and once again, you know, carrying forth the traditional style. These, of course, are front load units with the garages right in the front and steps going up to the front door. Okay, Mr. Hoag, if there's another, please bring it. And okay, is this the clubhouse, Kim?
Yes, this is the clubhouse.
Okay, so yeah, you'll recall we talked about the clubhouse that would be part of the multifamily component up in the corner there, and this is it. So you can see, you know, once again, you know, a good looking style. I think very traditional, at least in my view, anyhow. Lots of windows, roof articulation, you know, changes in pitch and shape. And I think that might be it. Is there anything
Yes.
else?
Yeah, the only thing left is the landscaping plans, and those are really kind of difficult to read because that's not rendered, and so the rendering is much easier to read.
Okay, sounds great. Well, Kim, would you like to add anything beyond what I said? If I missed anything, or you'd like to put
I don't think you missed anything. The only thing I would say, I want to add in, is that one of the things that the city of Bowie requested was that we do the 12-foot, you know, multi-use path along the frontage of the property. And we have added that to the detailed site plan. We also, I noticed that the rendering didn't really show the crosswalk at the intersection, but the detailed site plan does show the switchback that you mentioned, and there will be bike lanes across, as well as an additional northbound lane along the frontage of 301.
The one thing also that I failed to mention, if we could go back to the site plan, Mr. Hoag. Thank you. My throat was dry, so I had to get something here. So if you look at this drawing again, inside, it's kind of hard to see, but within the townhouse component itself, we have two smaller recreation facilities, a tot lot and a preteen lot. Tot lot is under 5, preteen is 5 through 12. And, they both have active recreational amenities in them, which are consistent and appropriate for the age. But something that's pretty exciting, I think, is if you look to the right-hand corner of the plan, you will see sort of a circular area off to the north of the townhomes. And that is a stormwater management pond that we have out there. And so what we did is we worked with staff. We're satisfying mandatory parkland dedication with on-site private facilities. Obviously, mandatory parkland dedication is not something that would have been desirable anyhow, given the Green Branch Park, which is going to become a reality immediately to our east. And so we amenitized the stormwater pond, and so we have a paved trail that runs around the perimeter of the stormwater pond, which is characterized by gazebos along the way. I believe we're also going to have some signage in one of the gazebos, sort of talking about the property and its history. So those are the recreational components to the townhouse portion of the project. So I think that's it. I don't have anything further to add. Mr. Chesley, did you want to say anything at all, or are you pretty good with did we cover everything?
I think you did a good job, Ed. Thought of things I hadn't thought of. Thank you very much.
Okay. So, hey, Joe, that's pretty much our sort of explanation and orientation to the project, and we're happy to take questions.
Okay, thank you, Ed, and thank you for the good presentation by the team and all the information you provided. We do have a handful of stakeholders who are participating tonight, and I'm hoping that we will be encouraged if they will ask questions through the Q&A by typing in the questions, and I will read them as they come through. I wanted to mention for anyone who's listening to this that the city does have a couple of meetings coming up on this project. Next Tuesday night at the Bowie Advisory Planning Board, we have an in-person meeting at City Hall at 7 p.m. on the detailed site plan, as well as a departure from parking standards. There is a request here for the standard size parking space, which is 9.5 by 19 feet, to be slightly reduced to 9 by 18 feet. So that's on the agenda next Tuesday night with the Bowie Advisory Planning Board, and that will be a public hearing. Then the City Council will have their public hearing on the detailed site plan on the 22nd of February. That's at 8 p.m. at City Hall. So those are both in-person meetings if anyone would like to attend. I also wanted to clarify a statement earlier. Ed had mentioned that the city had reviewed the project and recommended some conditions. In point of fact, in January 4th of last year, the council did review the preliminary plan, and they could not pass a motion to either support or oppose the project. So there were some concerns that were forwarded down to the planning board related to traffic impacts and some of the other impacts of the proposed subdivision, but the city did not have a position on that preliminary plan, which was the last plan reviewed for this site. So I would encourage anyone who's participating tonight to take this opportunity to type your questions in. We did receive a couple of questions already, and I'll go ahead and read from the question list. The first question is, are the roads going to be widened to handle the flow of traffic with the roundabouts? So maybe Ed, if you can describe the roundabouts and the traffic carrying capacity of the site roads.
Yes, happy to do that. First of all of the private roads on the property have been designed to meet the required county standards for those roads. Similarly with the, I'm assuming the question was about the roundabout off of Mill Branch Road, and yes, that has been looked at by DPI. And we believe, I mean, we haven't actually received permits to build those roads and the roundabouts yet, because that would be premature before the DSP is approved. You know, we have to get through this entitlement process before we can get a fine grading permit. But yes, the indication that we're receiving from DPI is that our design of the roads, including the traffic circles, is in fact acceptable and meets their required standards.
Okay, thank you, Ed. The next question that was asked was, how will the existing residents in the area's aquifers be protected by this development? Ed?
Well, we're going to have public water and sewer. So we're not going to be digging wells that are going to impact aquifer. We have, the site is going to be drained according to an approved stormwater management plan. And part of that plan requires that we cannot enhance the volume of flow off of the site beyond its condition as it exists today. And that's why we have various types of stormwater facilities that will be built on the property so that we manage flow and don't create any runoff problems onto adjoining properties. And I mean, beyond that, I don't know what I could say. Maybe Kim Morgan would have something that she could add.
Yeah, I would add that we currently do have an approved stormwater concept plan that was approved by the city of Bowie. Our original stormwater concept plan was approved by Prince George's County prior to the annexation. We are required to detain the 100-year storm in the stormwater management pond due to the situation of Green Branch tributary. And the city of Bowie takes the MDE manual very literal in that every piece of impervious surface must be cleaned in an environmental site design facility. So throughout this project, we have multiple bioswales, rain gardens, bioretentions, et cetera. So we are going to be providing the required water quality and quantity of the stormwater concept approval.
Okay, thank you for that detail, Kim. I'm going to move back to a question that came in about the road, and the question was about the DPI standards for widening the road. Do we know what those standards are?
Yes, this is Ed Gibbs. So what we're doing is when you come back to the roundabout, we'll have 2 lanes in each direction. And then I think we're going to have 2 lanes around the circle as well. But a total of 4 lanes coming back. And then I believe the same for Ridgely Boulevard proceeding off of that. Maybe it might only be 1 lane in each direction off of Ridgely Boulevard. And I wish that our traffic engineer was on here with us, because she's here, but she's just attending and not as a speaker. But let me see if I can get her into the meeting so that she could give the chapter and verse on that. So maybe we can come back to this question.
Ed, what's her name?
Jackie Chandler.
I'll promote her to a panelist.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for promoting me. I think, Kim, if you can put up the site plan again?
Anthony, if you could you put up the site plan?
Perfect. So as Ed was explaining, you can't see my cursor, but from 301, Mill Branch Road from 301 down to the proposed roundabout, that will be 2 lanes in each direction. Yes, there. That'll be 2 lanes in each direction. And then beyond the roundabout on Mill Branch, it'll be 1 lane in each direction. The private road that'll go back to the park, that should be, I believe that's 1 lane in each direction. Kim, correct me.
It starts out as 1 lane out, 2 lanes in, because we have that turn lane into Lola Lane. And then it's a 2-lane road.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope that answered your question.
And Jackie, around the roundabout, is it 2 lanes going around the Mill Branch Road roundabout like Ed said, or is it any different?
It'll be 2 lanes coming around the roundabout, but one of those lanes will be dedicated to continue straight. And then the other lane will have to turn onto the new private road. So it'll be 2 lanes coming around, but it'll end there. It'll only be 1 beyond the roundabout.
Okay.
And this is Kim Morgan. I wanted to also add that Mill Branch Road is considered a historic and scenic road. So our eastern property line with Ridgely Boulevard is considered the property, the demarcation between the rural tier and the developing tier. So that Mill Branch Road will continue to be its regular size, as it travels east. We will be replacing a culvert that is further east along Mill Branch Road that's currently having some erosion problems. And so that we've agreed to do that as well.
Okay, that's great information, because I know that did come up when we had our previous stakeholder meeting for the preliminary plan. So thank you, Kim. I'm going to move to the next question that's been asked by the stakeholders, and this pertains to the landscaping plan. Maybe we can go to that last slide, Anthony, which is the landscaping plan. The question is, what are the landscaping plans for neighboring properties, and what are the setbacks? So maybe someone on the team can describe how the adjacent properties are landscaped and set back.
I can somewhat answer that, and I think the better plan to go to is sorry, Anthony, is to go back to the rendering, the first slide, because as part of our tree conservation requirements, you can see along Ridgely Boulevard, which is along the eastern property line, just from the roundabout, there is a 50-foot buffer along that road, along all of the park, along all of those areas. We have a 50-foot landscape buffer that will be considered tree conservation, but it will be planted with larger type plantings. So we do have a landscape plan that I can share with people. We've submitted that to Prince George's Park and Planning, and it is quite extensively landscaped.
What about the buffering and setbacks around the other side where you have the townhouses over towards the stormwater management pond? Is there a 50-foot buffer or a 20-foot buffer, and how is that landscape?
There is a 50-foot buffer around the stormwater management pond. However, as you get closer to the stormwater management pond, we have that. There'll be smaller plantings on the embankment of the stormwater management pond because we have to have non-woody type plants along the dam right there. And then as you see the finger that comes up from Green Branch tributary, that is all huge mature trees. And then as well, all along the Green Branch tributary, that will all remain in conservation area. In fact, that's already included in a recorded conservation area with our parcel A record plat that was done originally for the commercial development.
Okay, but I was referencing the area between the stormwater pond and Ridgely Boulevard, kind of in that angle property line. How close are the townhouses to the property line, and is there landscaping proposed there?
There is some landscaping proposed there, but that's also the entrance to our park area. So that is the area where you can come into the stormwater management area, and there's multiple picnic tables and some grills and some things like that. So we don't have a lot of landscaping between the townhouse and the stormwater management pond, but but we do have some.
Okay, but along that eastern property line that runs behind the townhouses, can you just?
That's landscaped with standard street trees.
Is there a buffer yard required by the landscape manual? Is that what that is?
No, there's not a buffer yard required right there. There is a buffer yard required between the apartment, the multifamily, and the townhouses. And we do have a 17-foot landscape buffer between the townhouses and the multifamily units.
Okay, thank you for answering that, Kim. The next question that came in was, will the pedestrian walkways and bicycle lanes be added to Mill Branch Road?
Hey, Kim, I think this is you again.
Okay, I was waiting to see if Jackie would chime in, but yes.
Oh, or Jackie, yeah, one of the two.
There is a 5-foot bike lane along both sides, proposed along both sides of Mill Branch Road, as well as a 6-foot bike lane along the northbound lane of Route 301.
No sidewalks, though?
No sidewalks along Mill Branch Road, but we do have the 10-foot trail. So we have currently along Ridgely Boulevard, there is a 10-foot trail proposed from the circle area all along Ridgely Boulevard back to Green Branch Park. And that trail connects out into Mill Branch Road. It's not adjacent to the actual paved road, and it runs all along Mill Branch to the intersection of Excalibur, Mill Branch, and 301. And it connects then to the crossing across 301, which you can see in this drawing, and you can see the switchback that Ed described. And then it also connects to the 12-foot paved shared use and common path that we have along the frontage, which is offset from the actual lanes, so that people, then that'll be landscaped on both sides so people can kind of walk along there.
Okay, so along Mill Branch Road, just to be sure, you described that the 10-foot wide trail that comes down Ridgely Boulevard, when it intersects with Mill Branch Road, it will continue along Mill Branch Road down to 301?
That's correct.
That's a 10-foot wide trail that's off of the road.
Correct.
And then in addition to that, you do have 5-foot bike lanes on Mill Branch Road in both directions.
Yes.
Okay, I think that answers the question pretty thoroughly. Thank you. Another question that came in is, what other approvals are required before construction starts? And I know we're kind of at the end of the process with the detailed site plan, but Ed, would you like to discuss that?
Well, yes, Joe, we will need to first complete the detailed site plan process. And as I mentioned, you told everybody about the schedule before the city, and our planning board date is scheduled for March 24th. So we have to get the detailed site plan approved. and finalized, then of course we have to come back, we have to certify the detailed site plan by making any changes that are necessary as a result of the planning board approval. And then once it's certified, we can proceed to record plat. Once we get the record plat ready, we submit that for review by staff. They'll make comments, then we come back and they will accept the record plat after it has been signed by DPI, and it will go to the planning board. And after the planning board approves it, we can record the plats in the land records. So, you know, timing wise, to get through the entitlement process, just the land use entitlement process, you know, if we get to the planning board on the 24th, that we get a resolution, and we, you know, that becomes final, then we file the final plats. You know, we're hopeful that we could be at a posture where the grading on the property could be occurring in the fall of this year.
Okay, a follow-up question to that, Ed, that was asked is, what is the anticipated start and completion dates for the project? So taking it one step further than what you just described, after it gets started with the grading, which you said would be fall of this year, what do you expect the completion or the build-out time frame to be?
Well, bear in mind now, so the only thing we could talk about for sure right now is the residential component. We know the builders are very excited about moving forward with the commencement of construction. It wouldn't be possible to give any estimates for when the commercial will be completed, because they are, you'll see a series of commercial lots on this plan on the west side of Lola Lane, and then north of the traffic circle up there. And so they're going to come in for individual detailed site plans one at a time, probably. But I would defer to Mr. Chesley to try to give us an estimate of when the multifamily and townhomes would, like, say, break ground to begin construction and when they might finish. And recognizing that we can't hold you to the exact time, Mr. Chesley, because this is a difficult process.
Thank you, Ed. Holding myself I wish I could be held to exact times and I could name them. It's possible that we could do rough grading a little bit earlier than you stated, and I'm saying possibly June, July of this year, in regard to construction of the residential, especially the townhomes. That could possibly happen sometime October, November, December, end of this year. It's a long process. We started this process about 15 years ago, so we've got a ways to go still.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chesley. My apologies for being in error on the project target date for grading.
No problem. I might also mention that I could just as well be wrong about that date. It could be ambitious.
And so those, just to follow up, Bill, those townhouse units, that's probably going to take a few years to build out for 190 townhouses. Would you say a year or 2 years?
Oh, certainly more than 2. I would say 3 to 3.5, depending on the marketplace.
And I may have missed it, but the multifamily, as far as that phase goes, the construction of that would occur around the same time as the townhouses, and how long would that take?
Yeah, well, again, I'm going to have to defer to Bill on that.
The apartments will lag a little bit longer just because of the process, and probably won't start construction until the following summer of 2023. That's only an estimate, but certainly they would not be starting this year anytime, and at least I would say spring, summer next year.
Okay, great. Thanks for that information. We realize it's just an estimate at this point. Okay, I'm gonna read off the last question that came in. Is construction planned to start on the townhomes prior and the multifamily apartments prior to the updating of the roads on Mill Branch? So talk a little bit about the timing of when that infrastructure is going to be put in versus when the residential units will be coming online.
Well, again, I'll defer to Bill if he has better information, or maybe Kim, but my understanding is that we're going to be proceeding to permit for the road construction infrastructure, and they're going to have to be, the road improvements will have to be constructed concurrent with the development of the residential units, unless there is a phasing number that is approved separately from that. But my understanding is that everything is going to go at one time. Bill, am I right about that?
Yes, we certainly want to get all of the off-site work completed prior to construction, and certainly any occupancy permits for any units on site.
So,
Right. If you were to look, and just to add on to that, if you were to look at condition 19, which was attached to the approval of our preliminary subdivision plan, the major off-site road improvements are listed in that condition, and the requirement is that, and I'll quote, prior to the approval of any building permit within the subject property, the following road improvements shall have full financial assurances have been permitted for construction through the operating agency's permit process, and have an agreed upon estimate for construction with the appropriate operating agency. So as you can see, it'll all be concurrent with the development.
That's all correct.
okay, so I think that does cover the questions that were asked. That basically wondering about whether the Mill Branch Road improvements would be completed before the construction phase starts, and it sounds like it's going to be more concurrent with it. That you'll have your permits before you get the building permits. You'll have your infrastructure permits, but the work itself will occur simultaneous with the construction of the residential units. Is that correct?
That's correct. I might take this opportunity to tell the listeners and anyone that's online that if they would like to have a one-on-one meeting with us for clear explanations of exactly what we're doing, seeing plans, at full size, etc., we'd be happy to do that. And they can contact us directly.
Okay, appreciate that offer, Bill. I don't see any more questions in the Q&A at this point. I'm going to just recap the city's meetings, and if anybody wants to type a Q&A question while I'm going over those dates, feel free to do that, and then we can close out the meeting. But as I stated earlier, the Bowie Advisory Planning Board is going to take up this detailed site plan, as well as a departure from the parking space size on their meeting next Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. And that's at Bowie City Hall in the council chambers. And then the public hearing before the city council will be Tuesday, February 22nd at 8 p.m. And again, that's only on the detailed site plan. So those are the upcoming city meetings. And Ed, you did mention a planning board date. Do you have a planning board date for the DSP?
Yeah, yes, Joe, we do. It's March 24th.
Okay, thank you. Very good.
Thank you.
And we did get a request from one of the participants that they would like to meet they would like you to meet with the Mill Branch Estates HOA board members. So they're going to take you up on that offer, Bill. They'll be in touch. Okay, so at this point, I would like to close the meeting. I'd like to thank everyone for attending and participating. Feel free to join us for the additional meetings that I just described with the city. And as Ed stated, the county planning board date would be March 24th, and that's also a public meeting that people can participate in. So at this point, without any further questions, I'd like to thank our panelists for presenting tonight. Thank everyone for their time, and please get in touch with us if you have any further questions. So everyone have a great evening, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe, and thank everyone for participating.
Okay, have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.